Look at the ball they'll kick around tonight in the World Cup final. Argentina versus Spain. The biggest game on the planet. It looks like a completely normal soccer ball. It is not. Hidden inside it is a sensor that reports what the ball is doing hundreds of times every single second. That's not a ball. That's a computer you can kick. And it's about to help decide a World Cup. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what that sensor does, why it's allowed to overrule a referee in real time, and the strangest part of the whole story. This little computer makes no decisions at all. It already flipped an offside call earlier in this very tournament. And it pulled that off by answering one question that a stadium full of cameras, all pointed at the same play, still cannot. So what does the ball know that the cameras don't? Start with the thing it was built to fix. Offside. Football's most argued call. The one rule that turns calm living rooms into courtrooms and quietly ends friendships every weekend. And we are not exactly new at this. We've had super slow motion replay for years. We freeze the frame, we draw the lines, we zoom in until the players dissolve into little colored blocks. And we still cannot agree. So here's a fair question. If the cameras can already see everything, why on earth would anyone put a brain inside the ball? You might be thinking a chip in a soccer ball sounds like a gimmick. A gadget nobody asked for. And honestly, that's a healthy instinct. Most smart products are exactly that. But this one earns the name. And to see why, you have to know the one thing a camera is secretly, embarrassingly bad at. To call offside correctly, you need two facts, locked to the very same frozen instant. 1. Where every player is standing. 2. The precise moment the ball is actually played. Nail those two things to the same split second, and offside stops being an argument and becomes simple geometry. Cameras are magnificent at the first one. For this World Cup, there are 12 cameras bolted under the stadium roof doing nothing but watching bodies. They track 29 separate points on every single player 50 times a second. Shoulders, knees, the very tips of the boots. They know where everyone is, down to the inch. But the second fact, the exact instant the ball leaves the foot, that's where all that camera brilliance quietly falls apart. Think about how offside was judged for 100 years before any of this. One assistant referee jogging along the line, trying to watch two things in two different places at the same moment. The foot that plays the pass, and the attacker way over there. With human eyes. And human reaction time, which runs about 1/10 of a second slow at best. You're asking one person to freeze a single instant that their own eyes physically cannot freeze. It was never really possible. We just learned to live with the mistakes. And modern cameras don't fully fix it either. A boot meeting a ball is a blur. Different cameras catch that blur a few frames apart. A few frames doesn't sound like much. But a fast striker covers half a body length in that blink. And half a body length is the entire distance between a brilliant goal and no goal at all. So the cameras can tell you where. They just can't agree on when. And that, right there, is the ball's entire job. The instant a boot touches it, the sensor inside feels the hit, a sudden sharp spike of force, and it stamps the exact millisecond it happened. The ball isn't there to watch the game. It's there to be the one object in the whole stadium holding a perfect stopwatch. It's the timekeeper the cameras never had. And the way it feels, that touch, is genuinely clever. The chip has no camera, no eyes. It cannot see a thing. Instead, it feels motion. Acceleration and spin, the very same way your inner ear tracks which way you're tipping when your eyes are shut. It takes that reading 500 times a second. Every touch, every deflection, every bit of curl on a free kick recorded the moment it happens. This technology even has a name, the connected ball, built by Adidas with a sensor company called Kinexon, and tested for years before anyone trusted it with a World Cup. Now put both halves together and picture a courtroom. The cameras are your eyewitnesses. A dozen of them, all describing the same frozen second. They're wonderful on where everybody stood. But ask them the exact moment the ball was struck, and they start bickering, each one a hair off from the next. On their own, they cannot close the case. The ball is a completely different kind of witness. It can't tell you where a single player was standing. It never even looked at them, but it was holding a stopwatch synced to everyone else's, and it clicked at the precise instant of contact. One job, done perfectly. And the artificial intelligence is the judge. It takes the ball's stopwatch moment, freezes the eyewitness snapshot at that exact instant, draws the offside line, and hands the verdict to a human referee watching the replay to confirm. Where from the cameras? When from the ball? Married to the same split second. And a 100-year-old argument is, at last, over. A human still double-checks the call, which is the only reason it's called semi-automated instead of just automated. But hold on. If you've really been paying attention, something should be nagging at you. You just buried an electronic chip inside one spot of a ball that's supposed to fly perfectly straight and true. Wouldn't that throw it off balance? Make it wobble? Every professional on Earth would feel it in a single touch. The engineers had the exact same worry. So here's the fix, and it's elegant. This ball is built from just 4 panels, the fewest of any World Cup ball in history. The sensor hides inside one of them. And then the other 3 panels are carefully weighted to cancel it out, so the ball's balance stays dead even and it flies exactly like it should. They ran it through wind tunnels to be certain. A physicist named John Eric Goff, who studies exactly how soccer balls move through the air, found it flies predictably right up through the speed of a real strike. There's even a specific speed, around 27 miles an hour, where the air suddenly grips the ball differently. They tuned the surface for that too, so the players feel nothing unusual. The ball flies like a ball, and underneath the surface, it's quietly taking 500 readings a second. And the single weirdest thing about this ball is still coming. Because here's the twist. The smartest object on that field tonight makes 0 decisions. It doesn't call offside. It doesn't judge anyone. It has exactly one talent. For more than 100 years, everyone assumed offside was a problem of space, of drawing the right line in the right place. So we chased better cameras, sharper lines, more angles. We threw decades of technology at the goal of seeing the field more clearly. But it was never really about space. It was about time. The part nobody could ever solve wasn't where the players were standing. It was the exact instant the ball was touched. That was the missing piece all along. And the fix, in the end, wasn't a smarter eye. It was a sense of when. The ball didn't learn to see. It learned to keep time. And this century-solving, argument-ending marvel of modern engineering? You have to charge it. Like a phone. A full charge lasts about 6 hours, which is roughly 1 match plus extra time and not a lot of spare. There's a real person at every stadium whose actual job is watching the battery level of each individual ball on a screen. Like a parent counting phones at the dinner table. The smartest ball ever built will still quietly die if somebody forgets to plug it in. Now here's the part that should follow you out of this video. That sense of motion, the whole secret that makes this ball special. It's already in your pocket, right now. The chip that flips your phone screen the second you turn it sideways. The one that counts your steps all day without being asked. The sensor that feels a car crash beginning and fires the airbag faster than you could ever react. They're all the same basic idea. A tiny thing that feels acceleration and spin, hundreds of times a second, without needing to see anything at all. The World Cup just took that exact idea and slipped it inside a ball. So tonight, when Argentina and Spain play for the biggest trophy in sports, and a razor-thin offside decides whether a goal counts. The answer may come from a chip that's a close cousin of the one sitting in your hand. Same sense of motion. One of them is rotating your screen. The other is settling a World Cup final. So the next time you watch that offside line snap across the screen and a goal lives or dies by a single inch, you'll know the real secret. The ball was never watching the play. It was counting. The smartest thing in that entire stadium isn't a sharper pair of eyes. It's a perfect sense of when. And if a hidden sensor quietly deciding a World Cup surprised you, wait until you find out what's really happening in the last 2 seconds before a penalty kick. The invisible mind game that's already lost and won before the ball is ever struck. Subscribe and keep finding out how the world actually works.